Hey, welcome back to the Somatic series, where I'm using somatic psych theory to help people have a healthier relationship with their bodies, connect with their intuitions, and build stronger community relationships. This chapter, we're focusing on grounding. So part one of this chapter is going to focus on what grounding is, how it works, and practical ways to use this skill. And part two is literally going to be a demonstration of my favorite grounding technique. Now don't worry, part one and part two come out at the same time. When you're in fight or flight or shut down or any of the other survival responses, your whole brain and body are completely focused on surviving the danger only. And while that is an important, essential way that our bodies and our brains keep us safe and help us manage stressful and or dangerous situations, it's just not healthy to be in that survival mode all the time. The internet, social media, and pop psychology in general kind of make it seem like grounding is all you need to do in order to reduce stress, etc. And that's just honestly not true. Remember what I said in past chapters about being present? You could notice less anxiety or less shutdown symptoms after grounding, that's true. However, you could also feel even more angry. You could feel even more anxious once you're present, now that you are more in touch with your present feelings. Let's imagine you don't know how to skate, right? And you are out there trying your hardest, but stability is not your friend, and you start feeling out of control. That's kind of what a sympathetic nervous system fight-flight sort of feeling feels like. Everything feels really intense, right? You are trying not to fall, right? You're trying to stay safe, but everything is kind of happening all at once, right? And you feel completely out of control. So what do you do in a skating situation? You aim yourself for a wall, you stabilize yourself, you regroup, and you figure out what you're going to do after, right? So that's what grounding does when you're in a fight-flight situation. It helps you begin to stabilize yourself so that you can regroup and figure out what you need to do. Let's say you are experiencing dorsal vagal shutdown. That's like being at the bottom of a 10-foot pool. So what do you need to do in order to get out of the pool? Well, you have to kind of kick your legs in order to kind of get out of the pool, right? That's what grounding is. Grounding helps to kind of get you closer and closer to the surface, which is the present. I like to use a swing metaphor for shutdown sort of feelings because it emphasizes that, okay, you might be able to swim up, to the surface with one grounding technique. Like, you must have a lot of practice with grounding. Your legs must be strong, right? But it might take 2 to 3 grounding rounds before you kind of get up to the surface, depending on how deep the shutdown feeling is. Make sense? This is a great way to start practicing being present. And this is generally the first way I suggest to clients, especially if their major coping strategy is dissociating. When someone's body is so used to being in a protective state, it can be hard to convince the body that being present is actually the way out. And, being present can be really scary at first. Starting slowly and grounding into enjoyable or pleasurable moments, feelings, experiences is a nice, gentle way to get into practicing being present. Due to being in constant survival mode all the time, it can be really hard to truly enjoy moments that are supposed to be fun, or to sit with your successes, or to truly receive when people are trying to celebrate you. But it can be really easy to remember the last time you were annoyed or anxious or angry, or the last time you didn't feel safe, or the last time you felt numb, etc., etc., etc. Let me put you on something real quick. Grounding yourself before doing something nice, Not only does it help you be present enough, like in the present moment, locked in, ready, in order to receive whatever this nice thing has for you, but also it helps you lock that memory in so that you could return to that memory later like an awesome leftover meal. Grounding yourself into the present moment does not always have to be a chill, meditative sort of state, especially if that's not how your brain works. You could also ground yourself into exciting or interesting things. Especially if you have ADHD, it might actually be way easier for you to ground yourself into something exciting, since your brain tends to want to focus on things when there's dopamine involved. So don't fight your brain, work with your brain. By helping you be more present in your body, grounding can become part of how you change your relationship to hunger and food. As you become more and more comfortable learning how your body communicates with you through the physical sensations you feel and hear, then it becomes easier for you to figure out what hunger feels like in here, and also what your body is communicating that it needs from you. Think of how you are when you're annoyed, angry, stressed, chillin', shut down, people-pleasing, stuck, feeling playful, etc., right? Those are totally different versions of yourself with totally different perspectives and outlooks on life and feelings about people potentially, right? And that all depends on what emotions you're feeling at that time and which part of your nervous system is active at that time. Being present is the first step to regulating your emotions before you make any major decisions. And that is key for situations when you want to do some critical thinking, when you want to move in a more intentional way, making sure that you are present as, step one in the process of getting yourself into a ventral vagal state is key. Remember, it is when your ventral vagus is activated, that's when you do your best thinking. That's when you're able to brainstorm, connect with other people, analyze the situation more clearly, see all the options in front of you. That's in a ventral vagal state. And making sure that you're grounded is the first step to regulating yourself closer to that state. Look, we can't avoid all regrets. That's just impossible. But it wouldn't hurt making sure that you are regulated before making any decisions, just to avoid any unnecessary situations where you make a decision that's not actually the best for you or not actually what you wanted, just because you were feeling a particular way at that time. Grounding can also be part of how you soothe yourself. I'll get into this a little bit more in the body scanning chapter, but being able to recognize that you're feeling nervous, ground yourself into the present so that you're able to figure out what you need to do for yourself or what you need from your community is top tier. Grounding can be and has culturally and historically been a connecting experience between people and in groups. A lot of rituals and spiritual practices have some kind of grounding involved. Practicing grounding in groups helps everyone be present enough to be on the same page. Once my clients are comfortable being present and comfortable with practicing the skill of grounding, then I encourage them to practice grounding as part of the process of learning and mapping out their nervous system. Grounding before a body scan is so important because you got to make sure you're present enough to figure out what's going on with you and your body. It's like making sure you got full bars, being present before you call up your body to figure out what's going on. All right, that was part 1. Check out part 2 for my demonstration on my favorite grounding technique and how to ground yourself into a pleasant moment. If this was helpful for you or you found it interesting, please consider joining my Private Practices $3 Patreon so I can continue to provide more Black people with more trauma-focused somatic therapy. Thank you so much.